And we heard like 5 bangs, and she's like, "What is that?" And I said, "I'm not sure." And she said, "Well, maybe somebody's moving in." I said, "That doesn't sound like somebody's moving in." She said, "Well, maybe they're hanging pictures." And I said, "That's not the sound of pictures hanging." Most of the time it's pretty calm. But like I said, you always.
Good evening. We begin with new information on the story. We're the first and only news outlet to tell you about at 5:30 this evening.
We now know a man was shot by a highway patrol trooper this afternoon, leading to a traffic jam near the tri-level in Fargo. This is drone video from overhead of the situation as it was unfolding.
The on-ramp there from I-29 south onto I-94 east is still closed. It's been closed since about 5 this afternoon. Officials say it could stay closed for a few more hours as BCI crews are still on the scene investigating.
Police held a news conference tonight, just wrapped up about an hour ago with the latest on their investigation. Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor kicks off our team coverage live at Highway Patrol headquarters in Fargo.
Stacey, Justin, well, it's so much to unpack with these incidents that occurred today. We'll start with the North Dakota Highway Patrol's involvement. They say they got a call around 4:50 this evening, or this afternoon rather, about a hit and run crash right off of I-29. That crash involved a motorcycle and the suspect vehicle, which was a blue pickup. Unfortunately, the motorcyclist involved in that crash has suffered life-threatening injuries. Now, authorities say the pickup continued to flee. They were able to catch up with it along 32nd Avenue, but again, it still chose to flee the area. Another crash happened along that pursuit, during that pursuit, shall I say. Unfortunately, those individuals in that crash were not harmed. Now, the troopers were able to, as you mentioned earlier, were able to stop the suspect vehicle on I-29, right off of I-29 on the I-94 East ramp. Now, authorities say the suspect proceeded to get out of the vehicle and started shooting at troopers. Now, Captain Brian Neewin with the North Dakota Highway Patrol says this happened next.
The male was shooting rounds off as he exited the vehicle. There was a trooper that was on scene there that was a part of that pursuit and returned fire, striking the male suspect 2 times with 2 rounds, and the suspect did go down.
Now, there's lots of details that are still being worked out, including the timeline, but we'll take it back to Fargo PD's involvement. They say they were called around 5:03 to an apartment complex off of 34th Avenue South, the 3100 block exactly, for a shots fired call. They say reports came in stating that a male had been shooting from the balcony. Now, authorities have identified the suspect as a 28-year-old man from Fargo. Now, he has since been treated for his injuries that was involved in the officer-involved shooting. He has since been released from a local hospital and is now in Cass County Jail. As I mentioned, there are so many more details involved with these incidents, and there's still so much to unpack. Now, stay with Valley News Live as more information becomes available. In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
All right, thanks, Nishay. You just heard the law enforcement perspective. We're now also hearing from witnesses who say they heard and saw all of this play out today.
Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley continues our team coverage live from the apartment complex where the shots were fired. Bailey.
Yeah, Justin, Stacey, several neighbors that I've talked to here in this area say that they're scared and they're still in disbelief that something like this would happen in what they thought was their relatively safe neighborhood. Now, what witnesses tell us is they heard up to 30 shots being fired within a very short amount of time. But then, Justin, Stacey, people watched as that man got into his pickup and drove erratically out of this driveway and onto 32nd Street South towards 32nd Avenue South. And that's where he met an unsuspecting woman who had just gotten off work and says she was on her way to the gym. She says she turned westbound onto 32nd Avenue, and that's when she saw that pickup driving erratically right behind her. Take a listen to what happened next.
And he sideswiped me, and I'm just like, oh my God, what just happened? I couldn't open the driver door. I had to crawl out of the passenger door.
Now you're looking at photos of Blotsky's pickup or SUV here on your screen right now. She says that her car is totaled, she believes, but she is holding on, crossing her fingers that the mechanic can fix it. Now, Justin Stacy, she says when she called 911 to report this hit and run, dispatchers told her that police wouldn't be able to come to her for quite some time as they were dealing with an active shooter. She says little did she know that that active shooter was the man who just hit and ran her and sideswiped her. She says police did later tell her that that was the man involved in her accident. She says she's glad that she learned that, and she's also relieved at the way that things unfolded, as she knows that the rest of her day could have gone a lot differently. Take a listen.
I'm just glad that I had an SUV and not a smaller car, not knowing what the damages would have been. Could have been worse. But I mean, I'm not injured or anything. I'm just startled and just a little, upset that.
Now, it's still unclear as to why the man started firing these shots here. That's a puzzle that investigators are still trying to piece together themselves. The man should be charged in court by the end of the week, where we will hopefully learn much more details and learn why all of these things transpired today. Live in South Fargo tonight, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
All right, thanks, Bailey. Story still developing. Remember, for the latest on this story and every news story, download the VNL News app or check our Facebook page for updates.